time has come to address the frets, or maybe dress the frets. And I've been sitting here for a while wondering how to approach this, because I put the notch straight edge on the neck. I don't know whether you can see, but there is a very slight forward bow to the neck. This doesn't have a truss rod. And ideally I want this absolutely flat for when I'm dressing the frets. And I think I'm going to try and clamp the body of the guitar and then apply a little bit of pressure using a clamp to the head. It doesn't need much pressure at all to even out the neck, just a very slight amount. So I've got to work out how I can do this. Should be fun. I made sure the body of the guitar was anchored down firmly, and then I looped some bungee cord through the headstock, tied it around the vise, and then to adjust the tension I just clamped a piece of wood which I realised I could just move in closer to get more tension, and it worked really well. I've now got that flat, which hopefully you can see. It looks like these frets may have had some work done but haven't been crowned, but the frets are in remarkably good condition. The frets are fairly level. We're all right all the way along here. It's a little bit inconsistent. The fret's high on this side but not here. That's fine. A little bit rocky there. Very rocky there, that's probably the worst bit. As is that. So it looks like that fret's fairly proud. I can't see any signs of lifting, so it may just be movement in the wood, I don't know. But I don't think there's any point in trying to press these frets home because there's absolutely no sign of lifting. First thing is to get the board taped off. I don't think I've made this wide enough. I'm going to put a double layer on anyway, so it doesn't really matter. Just make sure I make this one wider. Barely. can see how little I'm taking off over here, but then we may have fall away, which is okay. If that's the case, I'll just leave those. I think I'm going to stop there. These are going to be a little bit low, but I'm hardly ever going to be playing up here. And anyway, we want a little bit of fall away, so I'm happy with that. Just wondering how much has been taken off there, though. Seems okay. There's a very slight rock there. I'm just going to take a tiny amount more off. I'll remark the fretboard. Seems pretty good. Okay, I'm not worried about the fact I'm not taking any off there. I'm going to leave those. Remark, and we'll crown them. I'm wondering whether there's a possibility I might go over and touch the surface of the guitar. I ought to mask it off, really. Didn't really touch these frets. I'm not particularly motivated to get them radically profiled. I'm hardly ever going to play them. That's as much crowning as I want to do, really. I want to preserve as much of the fret as I can, really. Now the polishing, 240 grit. I don't want to go too heavy with, but there are some quite big scratches in this from from the files, so give it a first. And you can immediately see the scratching and go in with this. Trying to do the edge. Yeah, I'll have to go over this a few times, I think, with the 240. If I don't get rid of the scratches with the 240, there's no point going on to the next grit. And the Sharpie is showing me quite clearly the scratches. I'm going to have a go with these crimson fret rubbers. Never used these before. I've done 240 grit. I believe this is 400 grit. Let's see how it goes. Seems very, very fine. I'd almost say this is finer than 400, but we'll see. This is the medium, and then I've got a fine and a super fine. I'm quite happy with that. The effort I've put in with the 240 means that this stage seems to be happening very, very quickly. When you apply the rubber for the first time, I've just done that one, and onto this one, you get a swish sound. And then it's gone. And I guess that's all you need to do. Obviously when you're pressing against the masking tape you get plenty of swish, but you needed evidence of the action of these rubbers. Look at that, that's pure gold, that is. Or it might be brass. So that's the medium. And now the fine. This one's less tactile because it just feels smooth already. The medium's done all its work. There isn't an obvious transition between unpolished and polished. I guess we'll just see more of a shine coming on. And now superfine. That's the polishing done. I've seen people use chrome polish auto sol to give it a final real sheen, but I'm not going to do that on here. I think that's fine. One thing I did think about is that I deliberately did the frets before the fretboard because I didn't want to get the fretboard dirty after the frets, and there's a lot of cleaning needed doing, and it seemed to make more sense to clean up after doing the frets, but I'm wondering whether I should have put an abrasive on the fretboard. But let's see. I don't think the fretboard's too bad, to be honest, but I am going to give it a really good clean. Pretty. One thing that's not so pretty is the shellac has been surprisingly resilient on the ends of these frets. I haven't quite got the polish there, but well, we'll see what happens. I'm going to scrape off the shellac. I should have maybe done this before I did the fret job, but hey. Yeah, the shellac's coming off really easily, so why are the ends of the frets still showing what I think is shellac on them? I did go over them with the rubber. And all the abrasives and the file, but oh well. There we go. I'm going to go the full length of the fretboard and scrape between the frets, and then I'll give them a good clean. Crimson Guitars fretboard and finish cleaner. Let's see how we go with this. It smells lovely. It smells like something you'd put on a salad. It's apparently all natural ingredients. I'll give it another application. This is now on thirsty fretboard, so we've got the fretboard restorative from Crimson. So I'm going to lavish this on. Give it a good soaking. Apparently we'll leave it for 5 minutes. He spilt it. This is the first treatment it's probably had in many years. I may have to reapply, but I'm just going to leave that to soak for 5 minutes. It's had 5 minutes, so let's wipe it off. I'm wondering whether to just give it a load more. It did still look a little bit damp, but I'm certainly not seeing any dry patches, but I just figure this is going to be some very thirsty wood. I haven't taken much off. I'm going to give it a second application. Why not? It deserves it. If you've waited this long for oil, then you might as well have plenty of it. All done.